Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Canadian Mortgage Hangout TV. My name. Hello.
That's very Dr. Nick Ravina.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
I can perform any mortgage operation for only $129.95.
5 easy installments of $59.97.
The coroner. I'm so tired of that guy. Well, we're off to a fine start on this, the second anniversary show of Canadian Mortgage Hangout. Peace, 2, love the 2. Hard to believe it's been 2 years, 2 long, horrible, annoying years with you guys, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's gone quickly. That's pretty exciting. I don't think I've ever done anything for 2 years before, ever.
I agree. Hello, everybody that's watching. Happy 2-year anniversary to CMH TV and to all you guys.
Yeah, it's been fun. We've had a pretty good run, guys. As in true CMH TV fashion, if you haven't watched the show, sometimes we plan it, sometimes we don't. We usually have more fun when we don't. So in true CMH TV fashion, being that it's our second anniversary, this is completely unscripted, unplugged, and unplanned. So we're gonna wing it today. We're gonna talk a little bit about probably some of our fondest memories over the last couple of years, some of our best guests, maybe some of our not so good moments, and we're just gonna have a little bit of fun. We'd love to hear from you on the Twitter. You can follow along at #CMHTV. Mr. Middleton, the kilted one, is monitoring that. Say hello to the folks.
Hello, folks. I'll be monitoring the Twitter, #CMHTV. I'd love to talk with you.
You really do have a voice for radio. And a beard for radio.
A beard for radio. My beard's a little unruly right now. I got to work on it. I got to trim it down.
You've got the Charles Adler thing going on. You need to, you could probably sell some Sierra on the show or something like that.
I grew my beard back. I think I shaved for about a week and a half, and I was meeting clients, and I actually had them say, like, "Why did you shave? It's better with a beard." So I'm like, "All right."
Oh, there you go. That's cool. Yeah. That's good. And your buttons done.
Yeah, and I have a belt, and I have a belt on today.
Belt's on. Scott Dawson.
Yes, and I actually wore pants today, but anyway.
I did not.
Always rocking the kilt.
That's
so
right.
for those of you who haven't watched the show before, we've got Scotty Dawson out in Vancouver holding up the West Coast for us and doing his best Trivago guy impersonation when he's not...
Still don't see the resemblance. But
My wife does, and she brought this up first. My wife is like, Scott Dawson is the Trivago guy. She really thinks that, and she actually likes you, but it's funny because now when the Trivago commercial comes on, she goes, I hate that guy. She just does not like the guy, but she does like you.
All right.
Nobody likes that guy, and yet everybody's talking about him. It's brilliant marketing. I read a great piece yesterday on they were it was an ad agency comparing the Trivago guy to Captain Obvious from Hotels.com, and Captain Obvious is creepy in his own way, but really interesting conversation about that. I'll try to find the link and share it on the site.
I don't think Scott looks like Dr. Zhivago at all. So let's keep this train rolling.
So, and Rob, you're out in Guelph. How are things out in Ontario today? How's the market out there? I haven't really had a market update from you in a while.
Oh, well, the market update, it's funny enough, I just got it here, and news is coming in as we speak. It's pouring in. The market's hot. If things are priced right, they go quickly, a couple of days at the very most, and year-over-year growth is strong, and Ontario still has, Toronto still has it's still the center of the universe, and they still also have the mayor, who's that's mind-boggling, but that's for a different show. Back to you, Gord.
One of the things, guys, on the mortgage front that I think we should talk about today is not only our anniversary recollections and enjoyment, reminiscing, but what I'd like to talk about is refinancing and sort of hedging against ups and downs in the purchase market. And I'd like to get your thoughts on strategies for building a really sustainable kind of up and down proof business on the back of refinances, and whether you guys are doing that or not, maybe whether some of our viewers have ideas or suggestions on that, I'd like to hear them, because that's something that I think is really, it's something I've been talking about for years and I've never really done a great job of, is sourcing refi business and even switch business if it could, because I just think it's that important, and I think sometimes we get complacent when the real estate market's hot. Properties are flying around and everybody's buying. We can do a lot of purchase business. And then when it's not, we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs and wondering where the money went. So why don't we start with that? Scott, do you, or any of the other brokers you know, do you maybe have anybody in your sphere of influence that just does a killer refi business? And is it all a refi business, or are they doing more privates, more seconds, that kind of thing?
It's funny you asked that question, because this year has actually been kind of a focus of mine, is to go after that business. I would say probably, just looking at the files on my desk, I would say a quarter of them are either a refinance or a switch.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
It's picked up. I think it's a matter of, I mean, it's picked up for me, but it's because I've been going after it, right? It's what you, if you're marketing towards that, if that's your focus and that's the word you're getting out that you do, it's going to come to you, right? Eventually, just like as if you were out networking with a realtor or some other referral partner for purchases, that's what you're going to get, right? So that's how my business, I've shifted it, because I'm almost a full-time underwriter here in the office now. So that's kind of the database that I've been starting to mine and work on, is past clients and past files, and going after it that way, instead of being able to, because I'm not able to get outside as much in terms to be one-on-one with a referral partner as much. So you got to go after it a different way.
Is it the monitoring bracelet that's on you, or is it just a personal choice not to leave the office?
No, I mean, they let me out every once in a while. It's just the way. I mean, obviously, I get more done here for one thing. I'm still going out and going for meetings and stuff like that, but it's just been a conscious decision, I think, just to maybe diversify my business as well a little bit.
So tell the brokers that are watching out there, like when you're looking at your database and you're mining that for refinance opportunities, what sort of things are you looking for? What kind of data really?
Well, I mean, I guess the big thing is you can look is looking at you go back and pull up every file and looking at their rate. If they were in a variable, if they're in a fixed, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to do much, because it's a variable. Maybe you can save some money on, because the variables have come down. And it's also getting on top of, I think for me, this is the year my book is starting to churn. So it's really getting on top of the renewals that are coming up.
Okay.
6 or 8 months out almost.
What, Scott, and what are you on renewals? What are you hoping to get in terms of? Do you have a percentage of those renewals that you think would be good switch candidates or refi candidates, and what kind of conversation are you having with people to create those opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, it's just coming up. So we start off, in terms of getting in touch with people, it starts off just because going through the database is sending them a letter, getting the wheels kind of churned a little bit. Then a little bit closer to, we're following up with a phone call just to kind of keep the ball rolling. And that's, then when it's 120 days out, we'll try and, if it makes sense for them to switch, if we can do it, that's what we'll do. A lot of people do typically question if they can get more money out. If they're wanting to do that usually does come up as a topic of conversation. And if it makes sense for them just to do a switch, we'll do that. If it doesn't, I mean, there's been times when we haven't been able to do it, or for whatever reason, and we keep them with their current lender. We're going that way.
Okay. And Rob, go ahead. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were flagging me down. It's interesting to me because I think that's a smart move, Scott. I think that's a really smart move to go back through your database and look for those refi opportunities. To definitely look at those renewal opportunities and try to find solutions for people. Especially, it does make sense a lot when there's a fair bit of equity in a marketplace. In the case of a market where the values have been rising, that's easier to do for sure than when they're not. I like your idea about the variables, going back and looking at variables that were done maybe at prime or prime minus 20 or something like that, and pretty minimal penalties. I bet you could make that money back pretty quick in a lot of cases if there's a 40 or 50 basis point difference. So that's a great idea, and definitely one that brokers should be looking at, because it wasn't that long ago either.
No.
You might have people only a couple of years into a term.
You know what? And also, just as an added little snippet here, even if it's not to your own database, if you can find a way that you can advertise, whether through any platform, really. I mean, if you're still doing paper or radio or whatever, if you can actually manage to hook some of the people that are involved with a brick and mortar variable regardless. So let's say RBC or even CIBC, one of those branches, if you can hook somebody in, you gotta only think that they're in a variable right now at prime or something ridiculous, right? So if you can get a hold of them, that might be a good opportunity as well while you're at it, right? So.
Does anybody know of there's lots of different networking groups, and there's lots of different sort of special interest groups of people that meet together, whether it's a book club or an investors club or a knitting club or a scrapbooker. Is there any, and if there isn't, would this be something worth looking at? Is there a like a frugal people club? Is there a savers club in your local market where it's just people who are strictly committed to saving money, to finding? I know there are sort of groups like that online or message boards.
Yeah, they're called finance bloggers.
Yeah, red flag deals online is one, for example.
They're also called Scotsmen.
Yes. Yes.
It's true. Take it from a Campbell.
Yeah, I think there are probably more than one ethnic group that would qualify as frugal, penny pinching, you might say, which is great, and I think that comes from a real place of the roots are having to be that way, right? You don't come by that. You come by that sort of approach honestly. Nobody wakes up one morning in need and says, I think I'm just going to blow it all today. I think if you come from a history, there's a lot of hardworking people through the years who've had to scrimp and save, so much respect to that. But that's something maybe brokers could think about as an idea. It would be to start something like that, a local chapter of people who are just frugal and looking for a deal, and in situations where the broker is competitive, then that's not a bad way to get some business. You might not get all of it, but Scotty or Rob Jackson, I'll throw this out to all of you. What are your thoughts on switch business? I had a conversation with a broker the other day who just lost three of them in 1 week, and she was looking to finally get some sort of a commitment form with a penalty, some sort of a cancellation fee penalty associated with it. We know True North is doing a 1% cancellation fee. We've talked about this a number of times on the show. Are we getting to that point where people are going to start to do that? Do you think?
Well, I think the problem with switches, especially switches, is the amount of documentation. You can either sign your name or you can fully requalify for a mortgage. And the last time I checked, it's a lot harder to qualify for a mortgage. So even the expectation, it's harder to qualify now than it was 2 years ago, 4 years ago. So if you were going through a 5-year term, 5 years ago when you qualified, it's twice as hard to qualify now, or twice as many documents required. So you can either sign your name or provide way too much documentation. I think there's a real opportunity in the marketplace for a lender to step up and do maybe a no qualifying switch. Like, you don't have to requalify. I know Scott used to work with ING Direct where they had that product. Now, I never dealt with ING Direct, and then of course they got bought out by the Scotia Machine. But that's an opportunity. I don't think switch business gets done because it's just too hard to do.
It's too hard. Yeah, there's a switch program at RMG has a good switch program as long as the mortgage is insured. I mean, the client still has to debt service and have good credit, but they don't have to do job letter pay stub and stuff like that, as long as they're in the same industry.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah, and if they could just provide, even if I could imagine a situation where on an insured deal they provide proof of bank statements showing the mortgage coming out of their account, for the last 12 months or 24 months, no arrears, something like that. That could work. I don't know why they would be opposed to that, but maybe there's some sort of regulatory reason why they can't.
I think that's
a question to throw out for our friends who have worked for lenders or who are familiar with the underwriting side of things. If they could answer us that would be really good to know. What's keeping lenders from doing a real low qualification kind of a switch? And maybe we should, Scott, maybe we should get on the phone with somebody at RMG and ask them for us and report back next week.
What kind of compensation do they have? Because honestly, if I'm looking at it right now, my switch business, when the lender is willing to be aggressive and match the rate, and all the client has to do is sign their name, I feel terrible asking them to provide a whole bunch of documentation to not get them a better deal. So even if a lender was to offer half commission to a broker, I bet you there's still a market for that, because honestly, I'd rather take half commission than no commission at all.
I guess the big thing with switches too. I mean, when I'm dealing with a client that's switching, if it's a past client, it's obviously a little bit different because you have a bit more of a rapport and conversation. But if somebody coming in off the street who want to switch their mortgage, or they've been referred to me or whatever, I just let them know up front it's going to be a pain in the ass. And you just tell them, because but if you leverage that by saying, I can get you a better deal, you're going to save X amount of dollars, but you're going to have to do, hop through these hoops. If they're willing to do that, then they'll move forward. If they're not, they'll just take off.
But then we all know that they're always going to take your offer straight back to their bank, because they have to. I mean, why wouldn't they? So to save the money on a switch is really, really difficult.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how you're getting the client, right? Like a lot of times, if you're getting them as a switch, they're coming out of a lender they don't like for some reason. They're pissed off about something or whatever. So you kind of have that in your corner. But again, you lose them for sure. But again, if you got your systems set up in terms of being able to take on a switch and do that process, you're not investing a lot of time before they're going to take off. That's what I find.
I'd say I agree with Scotty there it depends on who the client is. So if it's a cold call off the street, I would absolutely have a conversation right at the onset before I even take the app. Hey, not exactly verbatim this, but hey, just so you know, I'll be able to do a better deal for you and a better job, but you need to do a little bit of work here. Are you okay with doing a little bit of work, or are you just looking to sign and that's it? And engage that. And then if they say, so we're still talking about the cold prospect, this is what I've done in the past. If they say, no, I'm willing to do a little bit of work, you say, okay, great. Before I can take your application, we're going to set up a time for your next appointment, and I need you to bring A, B, C, D, E. And we all know what that is. Pay stub, job letter, mortgage statement or renewal, proof of fire insurance, and maybe the charge statement for your property. So at that point, you haven't put any work into it, and if they come to the appointment with nothing, you can just walk them back out, right? But if they come to the appointment with everything, you take their application, give them a little bit of an idea of timeline. The next time they come in, they're coming in to sign. They're not coming in to review or take anything with them. So that's how I would do that. But with good friends, like I've got a good buddy of mine who's going through renewal right now, excuse me, and he's currently with ING. Well, ING was a great lender in the past couple of years to brokers, but they are not competitive at all. I would strongly suggest any broker out there watching this from this point until hopefully the unforeseeable future, if you have ING clients that are coming up for renewal or they're still about a year out, call them. Call them and work those files, because they aren't. I've said to my buddy, call ING, tell them you're working with me, see what they're going to give you, and they are not competitive at all. At all.
Well, that's good to know. It's always nice when you can go after a particular client base, one nice juicy target like that and market like crazy against them. So good, good tip, Rob. Thanks for that. And at Tangerine, do you really want to bank with a compromise? It's red, it's orange, it's Tangerine. I think on the refi side, have you guys found, is there a particular type of refi that you find is, a purpose for doing the refi that you find is is most likely to close or most likely to be successful? Do you like working with people who are refinancing for renovation purposes? Do you like working with people who are refinancing strictly for debt consolidation? Do they want to get sort of 5 different payments consolidated into one little box and one nice payment? Or like, what's the best reason to refi from a broker standpoint? And my shirt is not tangerine color, by the way. I saw that.
It totally is.
No.
It totally is. This 2-year anniversary show is co-sponsored by Tangerine. When shopping for fruit or financing, call us at 1-800.
Hey, incidentally, I don't know if I brought this up on the show. You remember that ING Bank used to say no fees, no fee banking? That was the big thing. Slight adjustment after the Scotiabank acquisition. Slight adjustment to now it's no unfair fees.
Ah.
One of these things is not the same. They slid that little word in there.
Scotty, go ahead. Scotty.
No, I was going to say, because Rob was going to say call 1-800 or whatever Tangerine. Don't call that number because it doesn't go to Tangerine.
Uh-oh.
When I was in Toronto for they launched when they were doing the name switch for the ING to stuff, and I was at that event. They had apparently it's owned by a online sex line, and they can't get the.
Oh yeah.
It may have changed by now, but
How awesome
is that?
Advertise
no unfair fee.
That's the only. We were laughing about it because that's the only thing they couldn't get the name for.
Oh,
so
no.
How awesome is somebody who holds a Tangerine mortgage and they go, we really got a question. We got a question to ask about our prepayment privileges. I wonder what number we should call. Wait a second. I think 1-800 Tangerine works out. Let's try that.
That's when the client's not so worried about things rising like the rates.
Thank you for calling Tangerine.
Oh my God!
This train before it goes too far down that track. So, guys, preference, Rob, Jax, what did you on the refi business that you did? When did you find the clients most appreciative? When did you find them most likely to avail themselves of your services? When is it sort of the best fit between broker and client?
I'm going to jump in here, and in no way do I wholly endorse this answer, but I'll be honest with the best client to get a refi. You're looking for your self-employed individual who has some tax money owing, but they can cover the tax, and they want to get a refi because they want to develop their basement, which probably means spend money going to Mexico, and they want to roll in a couple of debts. They've got too many debts. They're not sure what they're doing, but you know what? I don't care what this is going to cost me, $12,000 penalty, that's fine, as long as I've got access to the $4,000 I want to go to Mexico and it clears out my CRA debt. That's who I have found, and it's unfortunate, but I used to do a lot of business with self-employed contractors, and yeah, they just don't care the cost of anything. You say, yeah, it's going to cost you this, that's okay, as long as I get rid of my CRA debt. You know,
my money anyway, right? Yeah. Well, and when the values of your home is going up substantially every year for 5 years in a row, we actually had some people come back 3 times in like a 4-year, 5-year period, which you know is not going to end well, unfortunately. But it's their equity in their house, and as long as they qualify, you can advise them not to do that, but they're going to make that choice. So, yeah. Well, that's probably good. I think you're right. People who are less sort of bothered by the cost of doing it are easier to work with. But who's the most satisfying then to work with as a broker when you're refinancing and you're really excited to be helping somebody out? Scott, who do you feel the best working with?
I guess for me it would be somebody that can maybe put them into a private or a B product a year or two ago, and they're coming up for renewal. You're looking at their file a year later, and they can qualify on the refinance on the A side. So that's, I mean, if you're getting someone coming from somewhere the rate's maybe 5-6%, and then all of a sudden you can offer them a 2.99 or a 3.19 or whatever, that's a lot more competitive with no fees. That's great.
And they really appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got a client for life then if you've helped them out of a tough spot once, and then we're able to see them through. Have any of you guys ever gotten any business on the refi side from bankruptcy trustees who looked at the file and said, you know what, you're really not a bankruptcy type client. You're not really needing an OPD. You've got lots of equity in your property. You should use that instead. Is that something that you think would be a strategy, or are people kind of is that even a?
Well, I think that's a worthy connection if that's the type of business you want to do, and it's certainly if you get in with those trustees or those management companies, yeah, that could be definitely a good source. It just depends on if that's the kind of stuff that you want to do. I mean, I'm gonna wager 8 out of 10 people, and this is totally pulled out of where. I'm going to wager that 8 out of 10 people that are in that cycle, in that kind of mucky, really bad situation cycle, tend to stay there. And I'm generalizing, I know, but I mean, so it does turn into, okay, well, last time you came in, we stuck you with this lender. We're going to try this lender now to get you out of that lender because you're back to where you were before. So the most satisfying, I would say, is for refi business are those scenarios where it truly is just a life situation where they got hammered. Life knocked them down, and they're back on the upswing, but they're not quite there yet where their branch is able to help them, and we can provide that solution, maybe a 1-year term, to kind of help them back up that hill. And I think if you don't ding people with fees and you're just truthful and honest with them, hopefully they come back and they're your champion and your advocate for you, right?
Okay. Where would you go about, besides your own database, where do you think the best sources of refi leads are?
Oh gosh.
I'll throw that out there, because I think the obvious thing on purchase is, well, we'll talk to realtors, or we'll be in a networking group with a bunch of young people who are buying their first places, or we can do seminars, or there's advertising you can do. Where do you look for refi business? Where are the obvious choices?
Jeez. It's a good question. Since nobody's saying anything, maybe I'll take a stab at it. I don't know. I guess maybe being the alternative lending solution to. So think like this is going to get so cheesy, but I don't know why I thought of this. But like car financing or these kind of decline situations where someone's going in to buy a new car or a used car, and they can't get approved there, and they don't want to pay the 18% on the car loan, right? I mean, we've all seen those. Whoa, you bought a Toyota Corolla and you're paying $800 a month. What's up with that, right? Yeah. I don't know. Just trying to really think about, or declines. There's a certain blue and white financial institution in every street corner in Canada that does not have an alternate lending solution. So when they decline people, there's no solution for them. So if you can manage to get a good relationship with those branches, huge source, because you can have that reciprocity where, yeah, you kick them to us, we put them in here, 1 year later we hand them back to you, and you just keep that cycle going, right? So just a thought, because if a client at one of those, at that certain blue and white institution, walked across to the blue and gold institution, they could scoop them. They could scoop everything. Checking, savings, RSPs, everything. They'll scoop them in a heartbeat, right? Because they have an alternative lending solution. So.
Interesting. That's a good thought. I haven't done that. I think there are brokers out there who do that.
Oh, Scott, absolutely.
Have you gone down that road with bank turndowns?
No, I've had a few come across my plate every once in a while, but I haven't really gone after that, like, I guess, niche of people to get after. Partly, I think, because I didn't come from a background in the finance. Like, it's different if I had been involved, I think, with that financial institution before. Like, we see a lot of brokers in our office that are coming from some of the banks, right? And they do get stuff funneled to them for a period of time from their past coworkers. So it can be a good source of revenue, that's for sure.
Yeah, I suppose as long as they're still doable deals, they're within our scope of expertise, and that might be a job to educate the bankers on what even a potential referral might look like. You're not maybe send them all my way. Well, is that what you're saying, Rob? Just send them all.
Oh, I misunderstood you. I thought I maybe thought you were saying educate them so that they can maybe still solve the solution. I'm like, hell no, send them over.
Yeah, just educate them on what a good referral is, but maybe not. Maybe you don't even want them to think about it. Maybe just fire them our way.
Everything.
I think we'd probably be surprised at what they turn down. There may be some deals you can still fit with an A-lender.
By the
All the
way,
time.
absolutely, and I know this not from personal experience, but from very, very close, reliable sources. Sometimes it's literally, I just, I don't know what to do with this, and it's okay, but I just don't have time. Can you maybe take that? Like, honestly. So it's not always going to be 530 beacon stuff. It could potentially be great deals.
We've got files across our desk from people coming in out of the branches where the person at the branch has said, I'm going on vacation, so you have to find someone else to do it.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And wouldn't do it.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, when that happens, that's good stuff. Jeez.
Good stuff.
Okay, well, I think we all have our assignment for the next week is go out and meet 5 useless bank employees, give them coffee cards, get to know them, stroke their egos, and then tell them you love them and you'll take care of their people for them. I think that I like that, and focus probably on the companies that don't have the really strong road rep networks and who don't have an alternative lending solution, like Rob said. And I think if you do that, you'd probably get a few deals out of it. And refi business, you gotta like the refi business. I think you gotta focus on that going forward. That way, you're insulating yourself against the ups and downs of the real estate market. So. Don't get lazy on purchase deals. I have, and it costs me and it bugs me. So, moving on, we've got a little bit of Twitter action. Jax, why don't you catch us up?
Well, and Andrea and Jamie both said congratulations on our 2-year. And the Mark Donald, who's my lawyer, says, and then even worse, trading unsecured debt for secured debt, often with a lot of costs and not much savings.
So as an example, is if you were refinancing a car, like you're paying a fair bit for your car, you don't necessarily want to amortize your 5-year-old Chevy over 25 years, which I agree with, Mark. That's for sure. For sure. If you have the choice, definitely don't do that. If you don't have, some people don't have the choice. Some people have a cash flow problem, and that solves the cash flow. It doesn't solve the cost problem. It does cost you more over time, but it does solve the cash flow problem. That could be a solution. Depends on what the client needs. Would you guys agree with that?
As we know.
Okay. You guys are super talkative. I love it.
Yes, I agree, Gord. I agree.
Gord, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Awesome. Now, are there any other situations where you would, maybe back to Mark's point, are there situations where you would refuse to do a refinance even if you could? I know there are. What are the situations that you would refuse to do a refinance even though you could, but you wouldn't do it because it's not good for the borrower?
Personally, no. I would lay it out. I mean, if it's a choice that it's tough. It's their decision, right? Yeah, you can lay out. Maybe you can only lay out one choice. Maybe you can give them 2 options, right? It's still a choice and an option. And if they think doing it is better for their situation, even if it's something that personally I wouldn't necessarily do. How's that our decision, right?
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I look at it more like, am I going to aggressively push this on a client if it's not a good option? I would say no. If it's an option, but if it's something that, they're kind of on the edge, hey, I'm not sure if this is good. I got no problem selling a good product if I believe it's a right fit for them. Am I going to say, do this or you're done? No, but I mean, to really highlight the strengths of a good deal, yeah, I've got no problems. But I mean, that's why I got out of business, is because people came to me looking for solutions to problems that I didn't think throwing more money on a burning pile could fix. So I just chose not to do the B deals, and I guess maybe that indirectly took me out of having to offer those solutions. But yeah, if I could do a product, typically I would.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's do a quick speed round, guys, to wrap up our 2-year show. I want to know maybe give me your favorite moment on the show and favorite guest, and we'll go from left to right as I see it. So, Scotty, what?
You know what? I think one of my favorite guests we had him on. It was almost a couple of years ago now. Was Jeremy Nichols, the fraud anti-fraud specialist, right? Service Credit Union. That was a great episode. I learned a lot. And then recently, I'm going to say too, when we had the broker heads on, that was great. So all of Colin and Gary, and then we had Mike from Axel. Those were great.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe we could preserve them as broker heads at some point, kind of like on Futurama, where they had the bubble.
Put them on the shelf.
Preserved in some sort of green goo, and then just keep them, because Colin, some of them are getting up there. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying they're nice guys. They can't broker forever, so we got. Yeah, but you want to preserve that wisdom and intelligence, and hopefully they pass it along.
Just because they're not running Ironman marathons.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which guest looks best in a wetsuit?
Mike Cameron. Whoa, did I
Definitely
say that fast?
Mike Cameron.
Yeah.
Definitely Mike Cameron.
And I think we should make it a habit having them back throughout the year, every year.
Yeah, that would be good.
Hopefully
to do an annual recap with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jackson. Favorite moment or favorite guest on the show, or both?
Well, I'm going to be honest. Scott actually stole mine. I thought that fraud episode was just. It was like the light bulb just went on, and it was like boom. I also like the live report, reporting on scene. I think you and I did one out of a casino once. That was fun. I like being on the go and on the move, and we've had a couple of the Canadian Mortgage Awards where we just man on the streeted people, and I kind of have fun with that. But I think overall, even one of our first shows, when we were just sitting around, how we got started on Canadian Mortgage Hangout is Philogics went down and none of us could work. So it's like, let's try out this new Google Plus thing, and let's do a hangout and complain about Davis and Henderson. And hey, here we are 2 years later, and
still
kind of complaining about Davis and Henderson. But no, it's all been good.
Right on. Okay, those are good memories. But you guys have better memories than I do, because I'm like scrambling through the website, Canadian Mortgage Hangout TV. I'm like, who are these people? When do we? Oh yeah, okay. I don't remember what we talked about in those situations. Rob, what was your what's a good memory for you over the last couple of years?
Oh, I'd have to agree with Jackson on the kind of the impromptu stuff. I've had my internet drop out here a couple of times, so I've gone like via cell phone, speakerphone on Scotty's phone, done it at home and live in the street, all that kind of junk. And I really like how fun we try to keep this show, because at the end of the day, this business can be an absolute grind. So I think part of the reason that I love doing it every week and for the last 2 years is we keep it fresh. And I know as a viewer, if I was watching this every week, it could get pretty boring pretty fast. I think having the fraud guy on absolutely was very interesting. I think we need to have more of that stuff on. Maybe anonymous guests that can be speaking from managers of underwriting and credit assist and all that kind of stuff. Some stories on the inside. I've actually thought about in a future episode, Google Hangout live from my phone in Toronto at one of the lenders' underwriting centers.
Oh, that would be interesting. You could talk about deals with underwriters, get in their face, ask them
deals, how they come in, what's the workflow, because that's a part of the business that we kind of get, but we don't, Right. So, but yeah, and having the heads on, but also like Jackson said, just 2 years of just plugging away. So for that, I thank everybody that's always watched, and I thank you guys, because I said it off air and I'll say it on air. I do nothing. I'm a permanent guest. You guys do all the work, so I'm happy to be a part of it every week.
I'm just going to jump in here from the Twitter. Mark Kelly just called Gord a closet NDP supporter, which is exciting because he's wearing tangerine orange. And he has seen lots of people who would probably be well served by bankruptcy process, and they're forcing through a refi, individual circumstances. So yeah, I agree with Mark, and Mark's a solid cat. Mark, he just said my fave, Keith D. Andrade eating, I think, just hanging quietly the whole time eating fruit. The Keith Andrade eats fruit episode, wasn't that like our second most viewed episode?
I think that's I think one of our most viewed episodes at the time. Yeah.
That was epic. The real challenge would be to see if we could get Gary Morris on the show to do that. because Gary has lots to say. We had a wonderful episode with Gary. That was one of my favorites. I did enjoy the heads. I enjoyed talking with guys like Gary and Boris Bozic and some of the of course Colin Dreyer, all the heads of these wonderful organizations, Mike Cameron, who do so much in our industry, and it was great to get their feedback and their perspective on things. And but yeah, we should have one of them on sometime just for fun. See if we get them eating fruit in a tight pair of pants.
Yeah, I can imagine getting Gary Morris in tight white Levi's jeans with no shirt, eating fruit. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
CMHTV mugshot.
Okay, guys, I just dropped a big chunk of watermelon on my chest here. Let me get it off. Hold on.
Do you guys remember? That's terrible. Do you guys remember Sandy Martin coming on the show?
Yes.
And Sandy Martin put a great show on, but what about the controversy afterwards? Like, our Twitter, our Google Plus blew up. Like, I think it got posted in an investor magazine, and people were coming to the site and like arguing with us that fee only planning is going to terribilize Canada, and that was
terribilize.
Terribilize. Yeah, that's the word.
That's a new hashtag.
Terribilize.
Terribilize. I love it. Yeah, no, that was actually, I'm looking on our site here, and I believe that's the most popular episode. Am I wrong on that, Scott? Or does that
that was another good viewership for sure. I think probably one of the most.
Ex-banker tells all. That was a real, and even as a headline, that's a real sexy kind of, you want to read that article because you're like, I need to know the top 5 secrets to weight loss and managing my finances. So. Yeah, great job, Sandy, and I think it's really nice, as always, to have 2/3 of the town of Prince George following us every week. We really appreciate the popular support we have in northwestern BC. So thank you for that. And no, great doing this with you guys as always, and really thankful for our viewers and the questions we get, the participation on Twitter. And all we've learned, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a great learning experience. Not only because we've had great guests on the show and lots to learn from you guys as well, but just having to talk about this stuff has helped sharpen me up because I have to pay more attention. I have to learn a little bit more about it and I have to give it more thought. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that with you every week.
Yeah, that's been great. I'll say thanks as well because, we do this show every week, but I think we're probably talking to each other and other brokers in this industry from other offices across the country on a regular basis. I know I am. I think the rest of you guys are, and it's not just this show that we're doing, but it's great. Yeah.
It's opened up the conversation with other brokers across the country, so that's been really fun. So I think it's time to sign off. We've gone over our time, but enjoyed the last couple of years with you guys, and I'm looking forward to a couple more. And have a great week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.